قل هذه سبيلي أدعو إلى الله على بصيرة أنا ومن اتبعني وسبحان الله وما أنا من المشركين.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وآله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد, dear brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to this new episode of Ask Zad, coming to you live as usual every Saturday between Maghrib and Isha, Mecca time. You will find, inshallah, the numbers for you to call if you have a question, and also the link to Skype, where you can call through Skype, and a new feature which is how to call through Zoom. And there is a permanent link that I had already provided you on my Twitter account, and I hope you will see it on your screens if you wish to call. As usual, we'll take 3 questions from the pending emails. Hiba said, are the people obliged to worship Allah in paradise? What kind of worship would we do there? The scholars say that this dunya we live in is a place of accountability. It's a place of worship and a test. While the hereafter in paradise, there is no worship. There is no accountability, in the sense that this is time for reward. So there are no forms of worship, with the exception of dhikr, which translates to remembering Allah. When we say Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar, this is called in Arabic dhikr. You're remembering Allah Azza wa Jal, so that you're not neglectful. This, the people of paradise will say, and they will be saying it as if they are breathing, not as a burdensome thing obliged upon them. Rather, they do it, and while doing it, they are enjoying it. They are having a good time, and part of the na'im, part of the blessings and favors of Allah upon them in Jannah, to be able to give this dhikr. But it is not a form of worship. Who doesn't do it will be held accountable or would be reprimanded. No, not at all. Ibn Yasin says, and let me take this off first. Ibn Yasin says, is the reward of a house in Jannah for praying 12 rak'ah daily for someone who does it all his life, and there will be one house for him, or is it one house for every day? It means that the day we pray, we get one house in Jannah, and the day we don't offer 12 rak'ahs, we won't get any house. This is an issue of dispute, whether the hadith where the Prophet says, alayhi salam, whoever prays 12 rak'ahs other than the fard prayers per day and night, Allah will build him a house. It's an issue of dispute among scholars whether a single house is intended throughout your life, or that every day you offer these 12 rak'ahs, you'll be offered a house. And there isn't a clear-cut logic mandates that it is a single house. How many houses would you need? Allah's mercy and generosity dictates that what's wrong in 10,000 houses in Jannah? Allah Azza wa Jal can afford it, subhanahu wa ta'ala, because He owns everything. Everything is His, and He's the most generous. So either way, we shouldn't go into the details. Secure these 12 rak'ahs every day and night, and inshallah, you'll be more than satisfied in paradise with the grace of Allah. And the last question from the emails. Abdul Hamid says, is it permissible to plant a tree on someone's grave to save him from punishment of the grave as people say that the Prophet ﷺ planted a tree on a person's grave and said, until this remains green, I hope he will be or he will not be punished. First of all, the hadith Abdul Hamid is referring to is not about planting a tree. The Prophet ﷺ placed two twigs, two branches that were green over two graves, because he passed by these graves and he said they're being punished over something that is not so major. By Allah, it is major. One of them used to gossip among the people. And gossiping here is a namima. So he used to listen to folks talking about other people, and then he goes to them and say, they said so and so about you, so that he would cause a clash and fighting. And the other one, the other grave, the man did not protect himself from urine while urinating. So the ricochet, if this is the right word to use, the deflecting urine coming back to his body and his clothes, and he doesn't pay attention to that. So he's being punished for that. Then the Prophet ﷺ placed two twigs, two branches, and he said, I pray to Allah that their punishment would be reduced as long as these twigs remain, or these branches remain green. Once they dry, it's over. My intercession would be over. Now, Abdul Hamid says, is it permissible for us to do the same, to plant a tree, to place a branch that is green on people's graves because the Prophet did that, alayhi salam? The answer is no, this is not permissible. One would say, why? Didn't the Prophet do it, alayhi salam? The answer would be as follows. One, did any of the companions afterwards did this to the graves of their friends and loved ones? The answer is no. Did the Prophet ﷺ ever do this to other deceased or people who were in their graves? The answer is no. Okay. Do we know whether my cousin or my brother or my uncle whom I had just buried is being tormented in his grave or not? I don't know that. Does the Prophet know? Definitely. It was a revelation and he knew. So how would we assume that my cousin, my brother, my uncle is being tormented in his grave? Who gives me this knowledge? She said, I don't know, but just to be safe, rather than sorry, I'm going to place it. Placing such a branch would be an innovation, because this is a speciality of the Prophet ﷺ. He was given this intercession and he prayed to Allah to reduce their punishment until as long as it is green. Who gave you that indication that Allah would reduce their punishment, let alone, if not, to increase their punishment because of your action? Of course, this is something in the world of the unseen, al-ghayb, and we don't know. Hence, it would be a grave innovation to do this, and it's an innovation what people do when they visit the graveyard and they throw water on the grave, claiming that this would cool the grave down for the deceased. Why don't you install an air conditioner? Maybe that would even cool it more. All of these things are nonsense. These things are of the world of the unseen that has no connection to our world. So therefore we cannot claim things, act upon them, and innovate in the religion of Allah, and Allah Azza wa Jal knows best. Ramla from Saudi. Salam wa rahmatullah.
Sir, I have a few questions.
Please do.
Okay, thank you. So my first question is, what are the minimum days or limit of purity between two menstrual periods?
Okay.
My second one is if a woman who is in state of istihaza is not at her own home and she wants to go someone else, someone's home or elsewhere, so can she pray her all prayers with one wudu, which she did before leaving her home, or she has to re-pray her all prayers once she return to her home?
Okay.
And so my last question is, there's a fatwa given by Pakistani Mufti that whoever has played PUBG, he is out of Islam. He has to renew his iman and nikah both, because in the game, the player has to prostrate and worship idols to gain energy, which is a major shirk. And
What? Again, please. What? Whoever what?
Sir, PUBG.
PUBG.
Whoever has played this game, PUBG, he is out of Islam. He has to renew his iman and nikah both, because in PUBG, player has to prostrate and worship idols to gain energy, which is a major shirk. And the person who is doing this and the person is intentionally playing this game and is representative of this player, of his player in the PUBG. So, is this fatwa correct, sir?
Okay. Any more questions?
No, sir. Jazakallah khair.
Barakallah fikum. Ayman from Germany.
Hello, assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Salam wa rahmatullah.
I have a question.
Yes, akhi.
There is in our food, there is aroma. It's with alcohol, and it's a very small percentage. And this percentage, you can leave it, but they put it in. So is it haram to consume it?
Ayman, I did not get the beginning of your question. You're talking about food that contains alcohol, or what kind of food?
Like yogurt or juice or something like that.
So the alcohol is wine or just a small percentage?
No, it's just a small percentage. No.
Okay. Second question.
No, that's all my question.
Okay, I will answer you, inshallah. Suhail?
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh Assim.
Wa alaikum assalam, hayyak Allah, Suhail. What can I do for you?
Sheikh, I have 3 questions, inshallah.
Yes, sir.
First question is, if a person usually observes his 12 sunnah of rawatib, if, for example, the sunnah after Maghrib is 2 rak'ah, but if some of his friends missed Maghrib in congregation, so he decides to pray with him, and he joins in his 3 rak'ah. These 3 rak'ah for the person who already prayed are voluntary. So does this suffice for the 2 sunnah after the prayer? That's
Okay.
question number 1.
2.
Question number 2 is, we know that we have 3 stages. So we have this dunya, then we have al-barzakh, and then we have the akhirah. My question is, everyone that died is now in the barzakh, correct?
Everyone who died is in the barzakh, correct?
How is it? Yes. So my question is, how is it possible that in some hadith, the Prophet saw some people in Jannah? Or this means that after the barzakh, they will be added to Jannah? And finally, my third question is... Astaghfirullah. Okay, so that will be it.
Okay, I will answer you.
Jazakallah khairan.
Barakallah feek, akhi. Okay, Ramla from Saudi Arabia, she says, what's the minimal period between the 2 menstruations? There was nothing mentioned to us in this regard from the Quran or the Sunnah. So all what you may read is ijtihad from the scholars who came and thought that this might be the right period. So some would say 14 days, some would say a day and a night, some would say this or that. So there isn't any specific mentioned period between the 2 menstruations. And this is why in one of his rulings, Ali ibn Abi Talib, may Allah be pleased with him, if I'm not mistaken, stated, and this was also reported by the Shafi'i, may Allah have mercy on him, that a woman can can have monthly period, then purity, then monthly period, then purity, then monthly period in less than a month. And this is rare, but it can happen. So what the scholars, the majority of the scholars, let us say, said was that the maximum amount of the number of days of monthly cycle should not exceed 15 days. So if a woman gets 7 days monthly cycle, and then she gets purity for a couple of days or 10 days or 7 days, and then gets another 7 days of monthly cycles, this in a less of a month reach 14. It cannot exceed that. Because if it were to be 15, this means that the purity would be less than 14 days per month, and the menses cannot exceed the purity. So it has to be half or less. But in regards of the minimal period between the two monthly cycles, there isn't anything mentioned in that, and Allah knows best. The second question is, if a woman were to have istihada. What is istihada? We know hayd is the monthly cycle, menstruation. But what is istihada? So a woman is either pure, she doesn't have the monthly cycle, she prays, she fasts, and her husband can be intimate with her. Or she has the monthly cycle, and she is not allowed to pray, nor to fast, nor to have sexual intercourse with her husband. Or she's in between. And what is in between? When she has discharge that is continuous, but we classified it as not being her monthly cycle. So for example, a woman who has bleeding continuously. After the 14th day, we say, okay, this is monthly period. Whatever exceeds that would be istihada. And she has to perform ghusl for the monthly period that she had the past 14 days. She has to perform wudu and clean herself and pray. And she has to do the cleaning, changing of impurity in her clothes and the wudu for every prayer once the prayer time is due. So she prayed Asr, she can still recite the Quran, make tawaf, do whatever she wants. Once the sun sets, it's Maghrib time, she has to clean herself, perform wudu, and pray. From Maghrib till Isha time. She doesn't have to renew her wudu or change her nappies or whatever. Isha time is due, she has to do the same process. Now, Ramla is saying, what about if a woman in such a state goes to visit a friend, a relative, and it is difficult for her to go every prayer to the loo, change, perform wudu, and then pray. So is it possible that she prays all the 5 prayers at her friend's house with one wudu? Or should she wait until she goes home and then combine the 5 prayers and pray them at the end of the night? The answer is neither one is correct. She has to pray each prayer on time, because she is capable to go to the toilet, and she's capable of changing her pad or whatever, and then she can perform wudu and pray. There is a concession for her because of her continuous impurity, discharge, that she can combine Asr to Dhuhr, Dhuhr to Asr, and she can combine Maghrib to Isha, Isha to Maghrib if there is a necessity and it is totally hard for her to do the prayer on time. 99%, there's no hardship. Nowadays, women always carry in their bags these pads, and they go to the toilet, they change, they wash, they perform wudu like everyone else. So I hope that this answers your question. We have Zach from the UK.
Assalamu alaikum.
Salam wa rahmatullah.
Question is, if you go to the toilet and then you're washing yourself and you use a lot of water, but then you feel that splashbacks, but you're not sure if the impurity in the toilet was pure or not, and not because of the amount of water you've used. What if it's difficult to tell if it's pure or not?
So you're talking
It's like
about
the
the water that splashes from the toilet seat?
Yeah, from inside like the toilet.
Okay. Any more questions?
No.
Okay, I will answer inshallah. Zainuddin from the UK.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I wanted to ask you a few days ago, but the line was cut. So I now know if I want to call early, I can come early and call you.
Zain, I cannot hear your voice. You're speaking too low. Can you raise your voice a little bit and speak a little bit slower?
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I have 3 questions. My first question is, I live in UK, so the prayer time is very short. So if the Prophet said in the hadith, من نام عن صلاة أو نسيها فليصليها إذا ذكرها لا كفارة لها إلى ذلك. Whoever forgets a prayer, he has to pray it as soon as he remembers it or sleep it. There is no explanation other than this. So if you're in a school, a primary school for example, and you don't have a place to pray in, are you allowed to pray at home if there is no place to pray in the school and you've asked and they're not having a place? So are you allowed to pray home?
Okay. Second question.
My second question is regarding you choosing a certain thing because of a certain thing. So I know in Islam believing in omens is haram and it's shirk, but if you choose to do a certain thing, for example, if you choose to choose a certain number because it has a certain thing, but you don't believe in it yet, but just that you like it, is that okay or not?
Okay. Third question.
Oh my God, I got three. My third question is about what you told us about protesting and demonstration. So I know demonstrations and protests lead to something haram, but what about, for example, if there's a big issue? What about exposing people via the social media and exposing people with names? Would that be classified as protesting if there are a number of people on one social site and they're all protesting against each other?
Okay, I will answer
just
you.
ask one more question quickly. One more.
Okay, I will answer you inshallah. Faizan from India. Faizan? Faizan from India.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
How are you, Sheikh?
I'm doing well, alhamdulillah.
Sheikh, I have 3 questions.
Yes, sir.
First of all, I want to say to you, Jazakallahu khairan, because what you said that knowledge evaporates the wiswas, that was very true.
Alhamdulillah.
So, Sheikh, my first question is, how to reduce excessive rubbing in ghusl and wudu? Means it's not the problem where the areas are already dry. For example, while I'm washing my hands till the elbows, I can see that from the wrist to the elbow it's dry, so it's easy. The rubbing is less, alhamdulillah. But as the hand is already wet, the front part of the hand is already wet, it's difficult to know if it is washed properly. Can you please just show it without using water, how much is sufficient to rub?
Okay. Second question.
My second question is, Sheikh, what about unintentional woes? Means a person said a statement deliberately, but he didn't intend to make it a vow. Means he says, today I'll read 2 pages of Quran, but he didn't mean wow, but he just said that.
Okay.
Sheikh, my third question is, on YouTube videos, we see some people, like for example, we doubt that they are Muslims who are wearing, for example, a red string around their hands, or maybe they are Punjabis and they are wearing a silver or metal bangle, which is shirk, right? To believe some sort of thing. So is it permissible for us to watch those videos if they are not talking about shirk, but they're talking about technology or such things?
Okay, I will answer you inshallah.
جزاك الله خيرا.
وجزاكم. Okay, we have a short break. Afterwards, inshallah, we will tackle your questions, so stay tuned.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today I'm going to talk about the book Interactions of the Greatest Leader. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam reminded us through his guidance and example that Islam is complete submission to the will of Allah. For one who submits, a mere declaration or display of belief will not be taken for success, but his or her heart and soul will certainly be put to test. Allah tested the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam severely in order that he sallallahu alaihi wasallam becomes an example for his companions to follow. Similarly, he tests the believer to see whether he lives a righteous life in accordance with the instructions and commands set by Allah, or lives according to what his desires dictate. Whether the faith he displays is firmly rooted in his heart, or is it merely on the surface. He will be tested to see whether he will continue to have faith and love of Allah when in a calamity, as he does when in comfort, whether he will continue to remember and worship him if given bounties and comforts of life, as he does when he lives a modest life. Allah will undoubtedly test him to see if his faith, trust and love of him is unconditional, or is it conditioned upon good health and a comfortable life, free from stress and anxiety. The Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam showed us through his own example that for a righteous Muslim, this life is a testing ground where he will continue to be tested until he meets Allah. For him, tests will be conducted on earth while he lives, and not after he dies. He knows that as soon as death arrives and he steps into the next world, his tests are over. There, he only receives the result of his tests and enjoys the fruits of the deeds that he committed during a short span of time called life.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah and welcome back. Ramla's third question is about a fatwa from one scholar who said that playing PUBG, P-U-B-G, it has a long name to it, is kufr and blasphemous. And to my knowledge, I haven't played this game, I haven't seen it before, but I think that this scholar is referring to an update to the game where they have, or where they inserted a certain idol that you have to go to as a player and bow to and offer sacrifice in order for him to give you special powers, or for it to allow you to go to the second or the following stage, if I'm not mistaken. And this caused a lot of problems in the Muslim world, and lots of the scholars have complained about it. And to my knowledge, that those who designed it removed it. If I'm not mistaken, maybe it's another game. So if the Sheikh was referring to this, yes, this is kufr, but playing it is not kufr. It's a major sin. See, we cannot, and this is a very important issue, we cannot say to everything that we see that this is kufr and implement it on individuals. There is general kufr. Whoever prostrates to an idol is a kafir. There's no problem in that. But to see Tom or Ahmed or John prostrating to an idol and condemn them as kufr, we have to be a bit patient and taking it slow and verify what they are doing. Maybe they would say that we were not prostrating, we dropped our sunglasses and we're looking at it, and you thought that we were prostrating. Maybe they think that this is not an idol and they're praying to the direction of Mecca, and there are so many reasons. So there are conditions to be fulfilled. There are obstacles to make sure that they do not exist before we give the label of takfir. So people who play such games are definitely sinful. If they disbelieve in such idols or in such powers that they're being given, but they just play it for the fun of it, it's a major sin. But if they believe that this idol does give life after death, or does give benefits, or does do things other than Allah Azza wa Jal, this is shirk. But nobody does this. So we have to be a bit careful before jumping to conclusions, and Allah knows best. Ibrahim from Nigeria. Ibrahim.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Wa alaykum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Now, my first question is there any punishment for a child born out of wedlock? I've heard some scholars say such child will not enter heaven, while I've heard some said the child will be in between heaven and hell.
So you're asking me about a child who was born out of wedlock. Will he be punished?
Yes.
Number two.
Number two. So this is related to the first question. Will a child be punished for the sin sinned by his parents?
With the what?
Will a child be punished for the sin committed by his parents?
Okay. Three.
So my third question. So while making the adhan, when we get to Hayya ala Salah, is ahead we stretch our head to the left, and while Hayya al Falah we do to the right. So what if we're using a microphone, a megaphone, where it's louder enough? Should we still move the head right and left?
I will answer you, inshallah. Jazakallah khair, Ibrahim. Zinar from UK. Zinar.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Okay, I wanna know if wudu requires intention.
Okay.
And do you know when we're doing wudu and like we wash our face, water can go down our arms? Will our wudu still be valid?
If what?
When washing our face in wudu, and water can go down our arms, would our wudu still be valid while washing our face?
Okay.
Okay, that's it. Thanks.
I will answer you, inshallah. So I think we will stop here and try to answer the questions we have before taking new questions. Ayman from Germany. He says that some foods have a very tiny, small percentage of alcohol in it, as in the case of some juices. So would this render it to be haram? We've answered this so many times and said that what counts is that the amount of alcohol does not mount to intoxicate you if consumed in large quantities. So if I have orange juice and I drink like 6 or 7 bottles of orange juice, there is a small percentage due to fermentation, for example, or due to fruits having a small percentage of alcohol in them by nature. So if it has like 0.01, 0.02 alcohol, even if I drink a pack of orange juice, it would not intoxicate me. This is negligible. If the amount is more, if it's a 1%, 2%, and doctors and specialists say that if you drink 3 bottles, for example, the level of alcohol in your blood would intoxicate you, this becomes haram. If there is a single drop of intoxicants, of wine, not alcohol. So there's gin, there's rum, there is vodka, there is tequila, there is brandy. A drop of it would render the whole thing as haram, and Allah knows best. Suhail from Malaysia says, so what happens if I were to come to a masjid and I found someone who missed the congregation? I've already prayed Maghrib or Isha or whatever, and then I join him so that we are both a congregation, but I pray 3 rak'ahs instead of the 2 sunnah of Maghrib. Would that be included among the 12 rak'ahs of Ar-Ratibah? The answer is no, because you are not praying it in the same format as the Ratibah. Yes, for example, if you came to the Fajr prayer late and you prayed with the congregation 2 rak'ahs of Fard. Now you have 2 rak'ah of Sunnah, which should have been before the Fard, but you came late. And you saw someone coming late and you joined him in congregation so that you would give him the reward of Jama'ah, and you intended by that the 2 rak'ahs of Sunnah al-Fajr. This is valid because it comes with the same number, the same format of the missed Sunnah, and Allah knows best. Suhail's second question is, if we have 3 stages, this life, the hereafter, and in between there is al-barzakh. These are the 3 stages where we live in. So how is it possible that the Prophet saw, alayhi salatu wasalam, people in paradise when he went in the miraculous night journey? The scholars say that either Allah Azza wa Jal made him see this as a vision or as a dream. And we know that the dream and vision of prophets are a revelation. So before I continue, it's also known to you, inshallah, through watching Ask Zad or Ask Huda or our programs, that the night journey took place physically and spiritually once. But there were many night journeys that took place spiritually only, where the Prophet ﷺ was to see things, and this was with his soul, not with his body. So many of the scholars say that this can be a vision, where he saw, for example, a maid or a concubine by a palace, and when he asked who was it for, they told him that this was for Umar. Or when he heard the flip-flops of Bilal in front of him in Jannah, though Bilal was in his home in Mecca. So they say that this was a vision. Allah showed him what will happen in the future as a vision. Some scholars said that this was also part of the unseen that was revealed to the Prophet ﷺ. But we know for certain that the people of Jannah would not enter Jannah until they are held accountable on the Day of Judgment. So they might be in their own spot or garden of paradise in their graves, not in the Jannah that we will enter, inshallah, after the Day of Judgment, and Allah Azza wa Jal knows best. Zach from the UK is asking a frequently asked questions. A lot of the people say, what about when we wash our private parts after answering the call of nature and we feel splashes? Akhi, either there are splashes or there are no splashes. How do I know? You can touch the area, and if there's dry, then you know that this is whispers of shaitan. Move on. Okay, if there are splashes, Sheikh, we find wetness. This wetness, either it's pure or impure. How would we know? We're not going to take a sample to the lab and ask them to analyze it, or to check it out. The vast majority, the vast issues is that if the water in the toilet seat has impurities, then definitely these splashes are impure. With wet hands, you can wipe the area of your body, and that's it. End of the issue. You don't have to go down in the shower. But if the vast majority of water in the toilet seat is pure because you've used a lot of water to purify yourself, maybe you flushed it, then you washed yourself, then the default is it's pure until proven otherwise. So you have these two possibilities. Either way, you don't have to go to the shower and wash all of yourself, or spend like 4 minutes or 3 minutes washing or cleaning yourself. If there are spots of impurities, all what you have to do with wet hands, just wipe it and it is clean, inshallah. Zainuddin from the UK says, can I pray home? Because in school they won't allocate a place for me to pray. The answer is no. You have to pray on time. And if they fail at school to allocate a place for you to pray, you can pray anywhere. And the Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, I had been given 5 things, no other prophet before me was given any of them. One is that Allah made the whole of the earth a place of worship and a place of performing purity through tayammum, that is. So whomever the prayer is due upon him, he should pray wherever he is. So let's assume I'm at a school. Teacher, can I go to pray? No. Okay, forget it. 5 minutes later, teacher, I'd like to go to the loo, the toilet. Once you're out of the class, you can pray in the corridor. You can choose the gym. You can choose a place where there are no students, or anywhere. Any place you can pray. You don't need a prayer mat. You don't need anything of such to pray. You can pray anywhere as long as there are no visible najasa, impurities, but you cannot delay the prayers and pray them home. If a person chooses a number because he likes it, or he's optimistic because of it, is there any shirk in it? No. The shirk is in believing in bad omens. So if I see a cat walking, I would say, whoops, it's a cat. I'm not going to work today. Usually when I see a cat, an accident happens, or someone is going to die. This is part of shirk. This is believing in bad omens. Believing in good omens is a positive thing, because good omens are from Allah. So the Prophet ﷺ, whenever he used to travel, if he would hear someone calling another person, Ya Najih, Ya Falih, or some of these, Ya Nafi', some of these names which means successful, beneficial, and so on, he feels optimistic. And he said, inshallah, this is a good omen. When he was in the incident of Al-Hudaybiyah, the treaty, and one of the envoys of the disbelievers came to negotiate a treaty, his name was Suhail ibn Amr. Suhail comes from the word sahl, which is easy. So when they told him that Suhail is coming, he smiled and said, okay, this is a good omen. Then inshallah things would be easy. So believing in good omens, believing that this number is a lucky number, is a good number, there's no problem in that, inshallah. His third question was about protesting. He says, I know protesting is haram, but what about if we expose people on social media and mention them by name? Is this similar to protesting? The answer is no. However, doing so on social media, we have to look at the consequences of such an act. Exposing people, if they're Muslims, you're backbiting them. You're slandering them. You are exposing what Allah has ordered us to conceal. But if there is a reason behind that, so someone who's deviant, someone who's calling others to innovation, and you expose him so that he would not corrupt the aqeedah of the Muslims, yeah, this is understandable, but again, you have to refer to scholars and see whether the pros outweigh the cons or the other way around. If what you're doing is about Muslim rulers, now this is a bigger issue, because The Muslim rulers control a Muslim country and they have their own subjects, and doing such acts and exposing them and speaking ill about them, even if they're bad, even if they're corrupt, even if they're tyrants, what you're doing would only add fuel to the fire. And it's not part of the way of the Salaf. If you have something good to say, go and speak to them directly. Sheikh, they will take my head off. I know, but Salafi, you cannot do anything about this. So the Prophet's hadiths all state that remain in your home. Keep the unity tight. Give your obedience to the Muslim ruler, and not to expose, because whatever you do is going to backfire against the Muslims. And this is why rioting and protesting is not permissible, and Allah knows best. Faizan from India says, I have a problem with excessive rubbing. And excessive rubbing is an issue because he says that it will dry. Akhi, even if it dries while doing wudu, there's no problem in that. Imagine where I come from in Saudi Arabia, the temperature is 47 centigrades Celsius. So I'm doing my wudu, I wash my face, and it's boiling outside. So while I'm washing my arms, I watch in the mirror that my face is already dried. So I go to wash my face and wash again, and it keeps on, vicious cycle. No, this is wrong. Even if it dries out, no problem. It didn't dry out because you dried it yourself. And even if you dried it yourself, the wudu is still valid. What is not permissible is to keep a gap. So I washed my face, the phone rang, I went out, I answered the call, I took few notes, came back, then I wanted to continue washing my arms. No, it's a no-go. Why? Because there's an interruption. Part of the 6 pillars of wudu is to have continuation. It has to be simultaneous. And this was interrupted. But to have it dry, there's no problem in that. Just pour the water on it. Even if it dries, that does the job. So if a person makes a vow not intending to vow, so he says, I will recite 2 pages of the Quran every day. But he did not say this as an intention of vowing. Akhi, if you're saying it to a friend or to yourself, there is no vow in that. If you're speaking to Allah Azza wa Jal in your heart and saying, oh Allah, I will recite 2 pages of the Quran every day, and you did not move your lips, you did not utter it verbally, it's just in your mind, this is not a vow. If you said, oh Allah, I have sinned, and because of that, I will pray 2 rak'ahs, and you said that verbally, you spoke it out, in this case, this is a vow that you have to fulfill. Number 3, if we were to watch some videos on YouTube and we notice that the presenter of this clip wears a ta'viza, an amulet, or wearing a cross, and these are all shirk signs, but he's talking about technology. So is there anything wrong in listening to what he has to say? The answer is no. This is permissible and there's no problem in that. And Allah Azza wa Jal knows best. So we have 1 question for each caller because the time is limited. We have like 5 minutes to go. Labib from Bangladesh. Labib. Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. You have 1 question, akhi.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Labib. Okay, I think Labib is gone. Labib? Okay, Aftab from India.
Is it permissible?
Assalamu alaikum.
Okay, now we have, wait, we have 2 callers. Control room, please indicate which one. So who's with me on the line now? Labib?
I'm Labib.
Yes, Labib. What can I do for you?
Yes, Sheikh.
Yes, akhi.
Is it permissible for a female psychiatrist to treat male patient, providing that the Sharia guidelines are followed, like no seclusion and nothing, no fitna, and as in other fields, you need to touch or see the aura, but in psychiatrist field, there is no need to. Just communicating on the topic.
Okay, I will answer you inshallah. Aftab from India. Aftab bhai.
Assalamu alaikum.
Salamullah. Yes, akhi.
Is it allowed to make congregational dua after Juma prayer? Means after the Imam finishes Juma prayer, he says dua and we say Amin. Is it allowed?
Okay, I will answer inshallah. And Shivas from India. Shivas.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum wa barakatuh.
Sheikh, what to do when Imam finishes Salah and I have one more rakah left and there is no sutra in front of us? So I move forward one step, I will get a sutra in front of me. Is it permissible to move forward?
Okay, I will answer you inshallah. So we have a couple of minutes. I don't know if there's going to be enough time. Ibrahim from Nigeria. He heard that a child born out of wedlock will not enter Jannah, or he will be in a place between Jannah and hell. Is this true? Totally fabricated and baseless. His second question. We heard that a child born of wedlock will be punished on the Day of Judgment because of his father's and mother's sin. Is that true? Totally baseless and bogus. Akhi, what is the crime of a child born out of wedlock? Did anybody ask him? Your parents want to commit fornication, so it's okay with you? No. So he's not to be blamed or to be reprimanded or to be looked down at all. Number 3, when we are calling for the adhan, we say, Hayya ala salat, Hayya ala al-falah. So when we have a microphone, do we do this, turning right and left? And the answer is no, because this would reduce the volume of your adhan. It would reduce the outreach of it. So you keep giving the adhan to the microphone without looking. Zinar from the UK. Do we need an intention for wudu? The vast majority of schools of thought say yes, you have to. Hanafi school of thought say you don't have to, but this is incorrect. You must have an intention for performing ablution. He says some schools of thought say that when I'm washing my face, if some of the water drops on my arms, then I have to repeat my wudu. This is totally bogus and false and baseless. No problem, none whatsoever. If you wash one area and it falls on the other area, the wudu is still intact and valid. Labib from Bangladesh. Can a female psychiatrist treat a male patient without seclusion while wearing the proper hijab with someone in the room? The answer is yes, it is permissible, providing there is no male psychiatrist to do the job. But if there is a male psychiatrist, we always say that segregation is a must. Aftab from India. What's the ruling on congregational dua after the Friday prayer? Congregational dua during the khutbah, the sermon itself, when the imam on the pulpit says, oh Allah, he doesn't raise his hands because it's a bid'ah. So he just says, oh Allah, forgive the Muslims who have died. Oh Allah, cure their illness. And everybody says, Ameen. This is totally legit. After concluding the prayer, the congregational dua that some imams do, and everybody in the congregation says, Ameen, and they raise their hand, this is an innovation and not permissible. Finally, Shiva says from India that after the imam offers salam, because I've missed a rak'ah or two, I do not have a sutra, a visor, or something that protects me from people walking in front of me. So is it permissible to walk a step or two forward or sideways so that I would be close to someone who's sitting or a pillar or a stand for the Quran? The answer is totally permissible. There's no problem in that, none whatsoever, because such steps are taken for a legitimate reason, and this is permissible, inshallah. This is all the time we have. Until we meet next week, same time, I leave you fi amanillah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
قل هذه سبيلي أدعو إلى الله على بصيرة أنا ومن اتبعني وسبحان الله وما أنا من المشركين.